Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sober School, where you can always find experience, strength, and hope. My name is Drew. I'm an alcoholic. We want to welcome you to this platform here today, regardless of what your addiction may be. You are welcome here. We support your pathway to recovery, your pathway, and whichever pathway it is that you choose, well, we are here to help, and we definitely want to make sure that it works for you. If you're watching us through the Recovery Classroom Facebook group page, we encourage you to share your own experience, strength, and hope, and your own words of wisdom. You never know who needs to hear what it is you might have to say, and it could just change someone's life, including your own. Do encourage you to invite your friends to the Recovery Classroom. We don't want people out there suffering in silence. So if you think there's somebody out there that you're friends with on Facebook that may have an issue, that may have a problem, invite them to the classroom, the Recovery Classroom. What's the worst that can happen? They say, no, sorry, it's not for me. And they move on. Okay, well, guess what? You did your part. So I want to give a quick reminder. Tonight's meeting, the Attitude Adjustment meeting at Bates Presbyterian on Pea Ridge. I encourage you guys to go down and check out this meeting. It's a lot of fun. Very, very much a bunch of like-minded individuals who are all there to share in the same common goal, which is to get sober, stay sober, to get clean, to stay clean. So I know that several of my friends are going there tonight, and it's a great group, great meeting. Also, another meeting, the pilot meeting for the Crosstalk meetings kick off this Friday night at Pea Ridge United Methodist Church here in Barbersville, West Virginia at 7 p.m. It'll happen every Friday night. So it's that format is done similar to how we do things down at the Tuesday night meeting. So we had a great meeting last night, and we're going to talk about that too in just a minute. But speaking of meetings, we had a lot of us local to the area. We had a gentleman come into our area for a little while last year. His name was Mac M. Mac was just probably one of the greatest guys I think I've ever met. The one thing that I absolutely loved the most about Mac was he was a straight shooter. He didn't pull punches. It was real talk, and it was real walk too. That was important for me anyway. And you saw it. He lived it. He didn't just say it. He lived it, right? And so, but Mac was able to articulate and demonstrate what I think is perhaps one of the biggest challenges that we face as a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Mac has subsequently left and went back home to his home state of Texas. We reached out to Mac a couple weeks ago and said, "Hey, would you be willing to share your demonstration on video so that we can include it in this morning monologue?" And he sent it back, said, "Absolutely." So let me introduce you to Mac and his demonstration of what we think is probably perhaps one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest obstacles that the fellowship of AA has to overcome.
And now, I'd like to present to you something that some groups have. The sergeant major of that group, the long-term sobriety person who I call the Angry Muppet. Bah! I'm Joyce Frank. You're not doing it right. That's not what it says on page 98. If you don't do it the way I do it, you're gonna fuck again. That'll be terrible. Listen, newcomer. Your job is to sit down, shut up, and make coffee. And I will fill you with my recovery. And if you don't do it like that, you're gonna drink again. You'll fail. But I'm always happy and free. Just call me Sergeant Major Recovery.
To see that in person, I'm telling you what, we just could not get enough of it. And so, Mac, thank you for demonstrating the Sergeant Major. Thank you for demonstrating what has affectionately been dubbed the Angry Muppet face. And holy shit, does it not look like the Angry Muppet face? That's crazy how close it looks. What is that all about? Well, last night's meeting, I got to sit and talk to a woman. I'm going to change her name, by the way. I'm going to call her Jenny. I got to sit and talk to Jenny for about an hour and a half after the meeting at the Point Cafe. And it was me, her, and another young lady. And we sat there and talked, and I found out some really disturbing things. Jenny is an alcoholic, and she has been in and out of the rooms. Well, she's not been in the rooms. Last night was her second meeting since, I think, 2020 is what she said. But she came in the rooms at one point in 2020, And it was a long-term meeting. In other words, the meeting she was at, there was a lot of wealth, experience, and knowledge in that room. And she was really anxious, really nervous, because she was getting ready to be reunited with her family. Keep in mind, she has a son who's 40 years old, and she hadn't talked to her family, never had that opportunity to reunite with her family until this particular point in time in her life. And she was really nervous, really anxious. And she goes into this meeting and she just tries to open up. She just tries to open up. And lo and behold, one of the long timers shut her down. And she even told me, I said, why don't you share? Why don't you speak? She said, because I've been told not to, because I didn't have 90 days of sobriety under my belt. Therefore, I couldn't contribute nothing to the conversation. And it absolutely befuddles me. We've got these angry Muppets out there running around, calling the shots, acting like they control the show. They're playing the role of that actor, director, everything that Bill Wilson writes about in chapter 5, how it works. Here's my question to you. Why are we so afraid of the newcomer coming in and speaking? Why are we so afraid of the person who stumbled and fell and who relapsed for a night, relapsed for a weekend? Why are we so afraid of them coming back in the rooms and speaking? Why are we telling them to sit down and shut up? All we're doing by telling them that you can't contribute because you don't have 90 days of sobriety, what we're basically telling them is that they're not important. Their opinions, their feelings are not important. I love the saying. I love it when I hear people say, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. What I'm basically telling people to do is to shut up, that I don't want to hear what they have to say, that it's not important what they have to say. Here's my take on it. If people are willing to talk, by God, I am willing to listen. Because when we start participating, when we start sharing, that's when we start healing. That's when we start actually being able to sort out all the problems going through our mind at that moment. And that's when we're able to start getting to the nitty-gritty. Why is it the long-timers? Why is it the people who have these really extended periods of sobriety under their belt? What is it they're so afraid of? We tell the newcomer, we tell them all the time that nothing changes if nothing changes, yet we refuse to change. And yet we wonder why participation keeps going down. Let me say this unequivocally. I am not ashamed of this at all. Those people who is that when you walk into the room and you see the angry Muppet face people, right? And they're telling you to sit down and shut up, that you don't have enough sobriety under your belt to contribute to the conversation. Those people do not represent the whole of AA. I'll say that again. Those people do not represent the whole of AA. I'll say this. Put this on the record too. I do not represent the whole of AA. I do not represent the majority of AA. But I will say this too. I represent the thoughts and opinions of a lot of people that come into the rooms and end up going back out. You know why? Because I did the same fucking thing. I came into the rooms. Fortunately for me, most of the people, the majority of people that I met early on, they showed me love, they showed me kindness, compassion, consideration. They had an interest in what I had to say. I ran into a few that didn't. They didn't want to hear what I had to say. And you know what I learned? I stopped giving a shit what those people had to say. I stopped giving a shit what those people think. See, I'm not there to recover for that person, for that long timer who's already got recovery. I'm there to recover for me. At the end of the day, my recovery depends upon me. Me and me only. I can't blame it on somebody else. I can't blame it on the angry Muppet face. I can't say the angry Muppet face is what kept me from recovering. No, that's my responsibility. So once I flip that switch in my head and say, you know what, I'm not there for the angry Muppet face, I can tune that guy out. I can ignore what that guy has to say because that's not the way I believe. That's not the way I believe. Once I was able to do that, guess what? I started seeing results. And I'm thankful. When I came back into the rooms, I'm thankful I still had that support system, that same support group from years before that showed me love, kindness, consideration, and compassion and understanding. When I came back in, they were there with open arms. Matter of fact, their arms got a little bit wider for me whenever I came back in, because that's how much they were interested in seeing me return to the program. They never told me to sit down and shut up. They never told me I couldn't speak. They never told me that what I had to say wasn't important. And that's what is happening whenever folks come in. We're telling them, don't participate. Don't participate. I know of a lady that she relapsed. And yet it's like, oh my God, how could you relapse? Oh, you're no longer cool. I'm not interested in being cool. I'm interested in being sober. I don't give a shit what other people think when it comes to that. I don't give a shit that, so-and-so relapsed 5 months ago, and now they had multiple years of sobriety. They relapsed, and now they're 5 months. Guess what? I'm living today for the very first time, just like that person is living today for the very first time. We're all living today. So it doesn't matter if you got 20 years of sobriety under your belt, if you got 20 days of sobriety under your belt. We're all living today for the very first time. No one has a leg up. So therefore, I have no right to tell you that you can or cannot participate in a discussion. I have no right to tell you what you can and can't say in a discussion. That's not up to me. So I want to encourage you today. I want to remind you today, those angry Muppets, they do not represent the whole of AA. When you come into a room and somebody tells you to sit down and shut up, when you come into a room and somebody tells you that you don't have 90 days or 60 days, and so therefore you have nothing to contribute, you call bullshit. And you know what? Ignore them. You share anyway. If you got something to say, you share it. Because like I've always said, you never know who needs to hear what it is you might have to say. And it could just change someone's life, including your own. I want to thank you, Mac, for sending the video in. Folks, I want to thank you guys for letting me come in and spend 5 to 10 minutes of your day with you. This right here. You guys keep me sober, and I couldn't be more appreciative, and I know my family appreciates it as well. So I'll let you guys go. Apologies for going over a little bit today, but that's okay. Progress, not perfection. We will talk again tomorrow, guys. Remember, you can't get drunk if you don't take that first drink.